I woke to a strange, metallic tang in the air and an odd lightness around my neck. My heart sank before I even reached the mirror. The reflection confirmed it. My waist length, chestnut hair, grown and cared for over years, was hacked into jagged, uneven clumps. At first, I thought I'd been attacked in my sleep, but the truth sat neatly on my dresser, my mother's craft scissors beside a sticky note. "You'll still look fine. Focus on your speech for Hannah's big day, Mom." I froze, staring at the strands still scattered across my pillow, like a piece of me had died there overnight. That wedding had been my chance to stand in front of relatives who'd ignored me for years, wearing the navy silk dress I'd bought with my own salary, no permission, no approval, speaking with confidence. Now, I looked like I'd lost a bet. When I walked into the kitchen, my father didn't even flinch. "Oh, good, you're up," he said between spoonfuls of cereal. "Less hair makes your face less distracting. The attention's not supposed to be on you." My mother sipped her coffee. "It's Hannah's wedding, let her shine." They spoke as if I were a threat to the sun, as if my mere presence in a nice dress would ruin the whole event. That's the dynamic we had. Hannah was celebrated, I was managed. Hannah got designer dresses and violin lessons. I got hand-me-downs and lectures on gratitude. Hannah's graduation gift was a trip to Paris. Mine was the instruction to work weekends and save for college, which I did. I'd moved out at 19, worked 2 jobs, and still RSVP'd yes to her wedding, hoping, naively, that it might be one of those rare moments where family didn't mean competition. Instead, my parents spiked my tea with NyQuil and cut my hair while I slept. When my roommate Becca arrived after my shaky phone call, she stopped cold in the doorway. "They did this to you on purpose?" I nodded. She stared at me for a moment, then pulled out her phone. "Okay, forget the wedding. We're doing something better." At first, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted space. But then Becca helped me dig up a voice memo I'd forgotten I even had, and everything shifted. It was something I'd recorded weeks earlier, out of habit, for my therapist. Just scraps of conversation, Mom calling me a distraction, for posting a photo from a friend's bridal shower, Dad saying pretty girls ruin weddings with jealousy. When I'd recorded them, they'd felt like petty jabs, but listening now, side by side with Becca, they became something else entirely, a pattern, a plan. Becca looked at me. "You know, there's a way to make them hear you." That night, I decided I'd show up to the wedding, but not on their terms. I wouldn't wear the dress they mocked. I wouldn't recite the sugar-coated toast they'd written for me. I'd take their script and burn it in front of them. I barely slept. Becca evened out my butchered hair into a sharp, defiant bob. "You look like someone about to ruin a family's PR," she said, grinning. By morning, I had a plan. I arrived early at the Vineyard Estate, Hannah's dream venue. All rolling hills and perfect lighting, a stage for a picture-perfect day built on my parents' savings, my mother's practiced smiles, and my father's pride in the real daughter. I was meant to be background noise. Not today. When the rehearsal brunch hit its warm, smug peak, I took the microphone. "Hi, everyone," I began. "I'm not the favorite daughter, that's never been a secret, but today, I want to tell you something different." The air tightened, my mother's smile twitched. "I want to talk about what happens outside the family portraits, when people say they love you, but cut you down, literally, so you don't outshine someone else, when they drug you so you sleep through the sabotage. When parents treat your very existence as a threat." Gasps. A fork clattered to the floor. My dad stood. "Enough." I kept going. "You don't get to rewrite me anymore. You don't get to trim me down, hide me, or pretend this didn't happen." I pulled out my phone. My mother's voice rang through the speakers, cold and clear. "She thinks she'll look better than Hannah. We'll fix that." Then my father's low chuckle. "We'll cut it while she sleeps. Girls like her need reminders." Silence, forks set down, eyes darting. I ended with, "You taught me shame. Now I'm teaching you consequences." Security walked me out, not because I'd done anything wrong, but because my parents had started screaming. My sister was crying, not for me, but because she thought this would ruin her photos. But it wasn't over. Within 24 hours, the video exploded. Becca had uploaded the full clip with the caption, "This is what happens when you weaponize family." It caught fire, millions of views, celebrities reposted it, TikTokers lip-synced it, my inbox filled with messages from strangers. "Thank you for saying what I never could." Then came the best email I'd ever received, from a wedding magazine editor. "Your story isn't just brave, it's something we want to feature. How would you feel about a photo shoot, an article called The Uninvited Sister Who Stole the Show?" I said yes. The shoot was everything my parents had tried to take from me: elegant, powerful, unapologetic. They did my makeup, styled my sharp new bob, and draped me in gowns that gleamed louder than shame. It felt like the first page of a new chapter. 3 months passed, no apology, no explanation, not that I needed one. The world was already watching them. My speech had become a cultural moment. Talk shows debated it, blogs dissected it, pretty privilege, sibling rivalry, emotional abuse disguised as tradition. Somehow, I had become the face of every daughter ever told to shrink herself for someone else's spotlight. I didn't want fame, I wanted freedom, and a way to make sure they never silenced another girl again. Then came Cynthia Ray, CEO of a luxury fashion brand. Her daughter had lived through something similar. She offered me more than a job. She offered me the role of creative director for a campaign called You Can't Cut Power. From there, it was photo shoots, press tours, TEDx invitations. My pain had turned into purpose. Back home, the fallout was brutal. Neighbors went cold. Wedding guests, who'd fawned over Hannah, now avoided her in grocery store aisles. Even the priest who officiated her wedding told his congregation she should be seeking forgiveness, not applause. 6 weeks after the wedding, her husband Greg left her. He'd found a box of printed Instagram comments, anonymous accounts attacking me, all written by Hannah. She hadn't just been complicit, she'd been obsessed. And now she was alone. I wish I could say that made me feel something, but I didn't. I was too busy building a life they could never touch. The sweetest twist came when Cynthia called me one afternoon. "We're opening our first creative office in your hometown," she said. "Want to run it?" I laughed, certain she was joking. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," she replied. "Same town, but this time, you're the one everyone wants to impress." So, I said yes. We opened a sleek, glass-walled creative space right in the heart of downtown, on the same street my parents used to rush me past on the way to Hannah's piano recitals. Now, a giant decal stretched across the window in bold letters: "Power cannot be cut." The week we launched, we held an open house. Local reporters came, activists came, survivors came, even a few old high school classmates, the ones who used to mock my quietness, showed up, resumes in hand, asking about internships. And then, like a scene from a movie, my parents walked in. No invitation, no warning. My mother hid behind oversized sunglasses. My father looked older, smaller, maybe from guilt, maybe from exposure, maybe from realizing they'd lost control. They didn't seem to recognize the woman at the front, poised, powerful, camera-ready. My mother's voice was almost a whisper. "We're proud of you." I smiled. "That's funny. You haven't been proud of me since I had braces." My dad gave a weak chuckle. "We all make mistakes. Families heal, right?" I stepped toward the reception desk. "Would you like to leave a comment card? We take feedback very seriously here." They froze. "Otherwise," I said, "I have a room full of people I actually respect waiting to hear me speak." I turned away, leaving them stranded in the very space they once decided I was unworthy of. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to humiliate them. The walls, the work, the people, my success was already louder than anything they'd ever said. But just as they reached the door, I called after them, "By the way, Next time you try to cut down a daughter to elevate another, remember this: scissors dull, but some girls sharpen. They never came back. And I never needed them to, because they had never defined my beauty, my power, or my worth, not with scissors, not with silence, not ever again.